The only thing constant in this world is change.
We, as a university, seek ways to ameliorate the conditions before us today.
And we continue to adapt to the challenges of this changing world.
A leading Christian institution committed to total human development for the well-being of society and environment. And our education is to be used as a tool for the well-being of society and the only place, the earth, we all live in.
Come to think of it, whole person education was with us ever since we began. It starts with values, Christian values, a seed which is planted in every Silimanian. Our commitment is on fire. Faith, instruction, research, extension.
Whole person education in the university's teaching and non-teaching programs and services. Education for total human development should be sustained as an educational framework.
In Silliman, we strive to offer quality education. And part of the quality education in Silliman is to offer our students a variety of venues for learning. These are what we call the 5 C's of Silliman education. The first C, of course, is the classroom, where students learn and engage professors and faculty who are among the best in the country.
Whole person education as one that promotes multidisciplinarity, inclusiveness, self-direction, and social responsibility.
Responsive to the needs of today.
With liberal arts education, we as an institution provide an atmosphere of inclusion more than exclusion. People of all creeds, people coming from different countries, personal and political orientations, people with different work backgrounds and socio-economic levels can all be a part of a community of learning. The multiple sources of learning here at Silliman that we identify to be the classroom, our athletic grounds, our church, our cultural center, the community in general. All these allow for various perspectives and learning applications that help realize the educational aspirations of all who enter the gates of Silliman.
Sports is integral to Silliman.
The second C would be the courts, the athletic fields, where students and faculty and staff come together regularly in order to celebrate the value of the body in relation to the mind.
Where is multidisciplinarity in whole person education? Subscribing to the concept that education is life necessarily entails that our teaching and learning must go beyond the narrow confines of our individual disciplines. The more collaboration we have with other fields or disciplines, the better we are at approximating the truths we are searching. Promoting multidisciplinarity, linkages, and networks among faculty, staff, and students, as well as interactions between and among academic units and divisions, does not only build skills, but also establish fellowship, harmony among one another.
The third venue for Silliman education would be the cultural centers. Many times in the year, the students are given a dose of cultural activities that will allow them to delve into the sensitivities of the human nature.
As to whole person education and self-direction with social responsibility, Excellence in programs and services provided to students is not an end of itself. It is hoped that the education attained becomes an instrument for a higher purpose, like doing service to others.
Silimanians throughout the years have always had the opportunity to learn directly from local communities around Negros Oriental and even throughout the country.
We have community service, structured health teachings. Not only does it improve our skills, we're also given the chance to give back to the community, serve them, and try to empower them in order to build a better community.
Another major feature of Silliman education is this education of the soul and of the spirit through the church. This is where our students learn of the value of nurturing their spiritual life.
What we have right now is on the pre-computer education for the senior citizen, and it is a 3-year commitment of Silliman and to the community.
Whole person education is not just our commitment, it is our way of life. It is who we are, Silliman University.
The Dr. Mariano C. Lau Global Studies Center envisions to be a hub for creating new, globally oriented, inter-cross, multi-inter-transdisciplinary global studies and training in technology-enhanced modalities. Its mission is to offer students and lifelong learners opportunities to acquire skills through technology-driven, flexible learning methods, enabling them to stay relevant in both the workplace and society. The center has 3 goals. First is to offer stackable, online, and non-degree programs that facilitate knowledge acquisitions, skills development, master classes, and lifelong learning for both local and international learners. Second is to provide ICT-enabled teaching and learning strategies to other centers and institutes within the university, helping them extend and enhance their programs. Third, to establish a platform for technology-oriented research, community engagement, and service learning, which includes offering free computer education and forging partnerships with alumni, as well as international professional and research organizations to enable global learning opportunities. As part of the supervision of the Vice President for Academic Affairs, Silliman University Lau Global Studies Center has 4 units to complement its vision, mission, goals, and its product and services. These are Non-Degree Programs Unit or NDP, Silliman Online University Learning Unit or SOUL, Innovation, Creation, Invention, and Outreach Unit or ICIO, and Institutional Skills Assessment Unit or ISA. The Non-Degree Programs Unit is a core of our enterprise, provides a diverse range of courses encompassing various topics, durations, modalities, and approaches, featuring on-demand streaming and tutorial for flexible accessibility. Stackable online non-degree offerings such as short and crash courses, lectures, seminar, master classes for continuing education or recreational learnings, on-demand or streaming video topical content such as video recordings of the past Global Study Center offerings, including pre-recorded materials that can be accessed upon request. And tutorial and assistance services are available as part of the NDP programs, offering one-to-one guidance and support specifically tailored to technology-related topics and utilization assistance. The SOL unit maintains its role in supporting technology-driven information quality assurance, including responsibilities like overseeing the administration of learning management system, enhancing user skills and engagement through upskilling, reskilling, and retooling initiatives, managing network and hardware resources for teaching and learning, facilitating instructional systems development, curating open educational resources or OER, and handling other aspects of knowledge management systems. Additionally, SOL unit provides support for the implementation of online academic programs as needed. The Innovation, Creation, Invention, and Outreach or ICIO unit continues in providing free computer education for diverse lifelong learners in the community, overseeing the coordination of the Silliman University Alumni Engagement Program and serving as a dedicated research facility for technology-focused research and development programs. It will maintain its role as technology-oriented training facility. ICIO unit offers flexible and hybrid computer laboratory, free computer education, technology research and capstone grant, free RISE assistance program, alumni engagement, and educational technology research collaborations. The Institutional Skills Assessment or ISA unit facilitates micro-credentialing and various forms of continuing professional development accreditation. Additionally, in partnership with other centers of the university, ISA unit facilitates any forms of skills evaluation and accreditation systems for learners seeking certification. ISA unit offers micro-credentialing system, CPD units, and skills assessments. Visit, like, follow, and engage with us on our online accounts or call local 418 and 417. We connect minds and navigate the future with knowledge and innovation towards global excellence.
Before the webinar begins, kindly rename your Zoom name to your complete name and department or affiliation. This helps us identify participants and promotes a productive discussion. Please ensure that your microphone is muted when you are not speaking. This minimizes background noise and ensures a clear audio experience for all participants. If your internet connectivity allows, we encourage you to switch on your video. It helps create a more engaging and interactive webinar experience. However, this is optional based on your internet stability. Questions and discussions will be held after the main presentation. Please save your questions for the designated Q&A session. You can use the chat feature to type your questions during the talk. The session will be recorded for future reference. All recorded videos will be uploaded to and accessible on the Silliman Online University YouTube channel. By attending, you consent to being recorded. After the training session, we kindly request that you fill out and submit the evaluation form. Upon submitting the evaluation form, you will receive a certificate of attendance and/or participation via email. Please ensure your email address is correctly provided in the evaluation form. Your feedback is valuable and helps us improve our future webinars. Thank you for your cooperation and participation in our Zoom webinar. We look forward to a productive and engaging session.
Heavenly Father, we come to you in this hour, asking for your guidance and protection to our virtual gathering today. We thank you for the gift of life, the gift of family, the gift of work, and the gift of friendship. We thank you for this great opportunity to bring us together in this session as brothers and sisters. Bless the committee, the facilitator, and the attendees of this gathering. May we continue to value and appreciate the true essence and meaning of life with the help of your grace. And as we go along to our discussion today, we humbly pray that you would deepen our understanding. Lord, enlighten us and give us wisdom every day. Forgive us for our shortcomings and remind us to always be mindful of the things we do in life. We offer our life and our decisions to you, O Lord. May this gathering today create a memorable experience and a fruitful outcome. We ask this through our Lord Jesus Christ, our Redeemer and our Savior. Amen.
Hello everyone, a warm welcome to today's session hosted by the Dr. Mariano C. Lau Innovation Creation and Invention Laboratory. Here at the Dr. Mariano C. Lau Lab, we're passionate about promoting lifelong learning and innovation. Our Saturday seminars empower you with the latest knowledge and skills to thrive in our ever-evolving digital world. We're excited to dive into today's session with you. We have an engaging and informative program packed with insights and practical strategies you can apply in your professional and personal lives. Let's embrace this opportunity to learn, share, and grow together. Without further ado, let's meet our speaker for this afternoon. Davey Marshall. Marcial, a full professor at Silliman University, is celebrating his 20th year with the institution. He formerly served as the Dean of the College of Computer Studies at Silliman University, Philippines. He is a technical committee member for IT education at the Philippine Commission on Higher Education. Additionally, he serves as the executive director of the Asian University Digital Resource Network. He has held prestigious roles such as the president of the Philippine Society of IT Educators and vice president of the Filipino Learning Society. Dr. Marshall is also a board advisor for the Computing Society of the Philippines Special Interest Group on Information and Computing Education. He is the founding executive director of the Association of ICT in Dumaguete and Negros Oriental that makes Dumaguete as one of the BPO destinations in the country. His achievements include being awarded the second-place finalist in the Philippine DigiBayani, or Digital Hero, Award for Digital Literacy in 2015. He has received the Most Productive Faculty Award from Silliman University in 2015 and 2020, contributing significantly to the university's digital transformation. He was also awarded the 2022 eLearning Forum Asia Award for Community Outreach. He led a project on combating information disorder, which resulted in Silliman University achieving 72nd place in the World University Rankings for Innovation in the Social Responsibility category in 2024. His research interests encompass educational technology, local knowledge computing, and digital trust, leading him to secure various local and international research grants. As a United Board Fellow, he completed a postdoctoral certificate on leadership in higher education from Boston College, USA. Presently, Dr. Marshall is the founding director of the Mariano C. Lau Global Studies Center of Silliman University. During his directorship, he authored the university's AI Integration Framework and the university's Innovation Framework. Dr. Dave Marshall participated in the 2023 UNESCO's Regional Experts Meeting on Generative AI and Education in Asia Pacific in Bangkok, Thailand. He was also invited to the United Nations Philippines National Stakeholders on Ethical Artificial Intelligence, or AI, in 2023.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure to welcome you all to this session on micro-credentialing and Silliman Open Online Courses, or SOOP, hosted by Silliman University. Learn how micro-credentials can enhance your professional development and explore the opportunities offered by SOOP. These programs provide flexible, accessible, and skill-focused learning pathways to help individuals and institutions stay ahead in today's dynamic world. Without further ado, let us welcome Dr. Dave E. Marshall. Dr. Dave, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you, Missy, and good afternoon to all. Happy Saturday. So I prepared a very short material to make sure that I walk the talk of the discussion, which is micro-credentialing, taken from the concept on the foundation of a micro-learning. Let me share my screen so that I can start my discussion. Micro-credentialing and Silliman Open Online Courses. There are basically two subtopics, but I am preparing this really not to fast track, to expedite, but making a comprehensive content to make sure that this is easy to consume for us. What does it mean by micro-credential, micro-learning, then leading toward more time in discussing or presenting to you the Stilleman Open Online courses. I prepared, basically divided my discussion this afternoon into three. The introduction, like why there is a need of micro-credentialing, uh, policies, guidelines, and procedures of micro-credential as released by the Commission on Higher Education. This is actually very historic CMO, or the Curricular Memorandum of CHED, because this is the first CMO in the year 2025, and the last is on the Silliman Open online courses. This is part of our 2-year grant from the United Board for Christian Higher Education to establish a micro-credential, especially among our partner institutions with Silliman University. Okay, so what is micro-credentialing? Why there is a need to have micro-credential? Before I start, let me cite to you first Education 5.0, because if you will try to look at the different references about micro-credential, the literature will always bring us to Education 5.0, that represents a paradigm shift in education, integrating emerging technologies, personalization of learning, and at the same time, the lifelong learning principles. Many international organizations and advocates on quality education, and even in the Sustainable Development Goals, it is stated that micro-credentialing served as cornerstone of Education 5.0. UNESCO, OECD, European Commission, World Economic Forum, the World Bank, the International Labour Organization, Commonwealth of Learning, UNDP, and APEC. All of these cited that there is a significant traction and acceleration on the integration of micro-credentialing, not just simply in the academic institutions, but other qualified providers of micro-credential. The Commission on Higher Education released this number one in the series of 2005, which is actually this year, uh, with the CMO guidelines for micro-credential development, approval, and recognition in higher education. The main principle or rationale of the CMO is uh, to bridge the gap between education and industry demand. And second is to promote lifelong learning and agility in adapting to evolving skills. That is basically the aim of the guidelines of the Commission on Higher Education Memorandum Order. So what is micro-credentials? Micro-credentialing, micro-credentials. Micro-credentials refers to smaller units of learning for specific skills and competencies. Again, smaller units of learning for specific skills and competencies. In the past, started last year, we've been discussing the foundational framework of micro-credentials and micro-learning and micro-credentialing. But this time, it is assumed that we have prior knowledge on micro-credentials, most probably, and at the same time, ensuring that um, we can understand the very specific uh, foundation of this micro-credential. Again, as I mentioned, micro-credentials refers to smaller units of learning for specific skills and competencies. Recognize, and these are recognized by the Commission on Higher Education, which are all aligned with industry standards and considered as stackable. If you are familiar with the Philippine Qualification Framework, we started with or the stacking and the available smaller unit of learning should equal to level 5.0 or level 5, 6, 7 to 8. And you can search along also on the different levels or what are the different competencies that are allowed to be delivered via the concept of micro-credentials. Micro-credentials, there are actually 8 principles of micro-credentials as figured out by the Commission on Higher Education, that a micro-credential are designed and developed to meet the needs and interests of the learner. In other words, we are offering a micro-credential because there is a need, there is a demand from the learner. It is outcomes-based and skill-based, defined by K, S, A, and B. No? Knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values needed for various roles or jobs, focusing on developing skills through learning experiences. And most of the time, micro-credentials are delivered in different modalities: workshops, short courses, webinars like this, and even or encapsulating online courses. It is personalized. Personalized because it allows learners to select from a variety of choices based on their needs and interests. It means that learners can learn at their own pace, at their own time, and they can also select specific competencies that they wanted to learn. And micro credentials also is obviously an industry driven because, as I mentioned, there are one of the reasons to provide micro credential is to bridge the gap between the academe and the demand from the industry, which align industry needs, and then it guides learners toward work opportunities, skills development, and professional development. It is also a micro-credential should be accessible and inclusive, which is open to all type of learners, regardless of age, gender, race, position, and socioeconomic status, because after all, it depends on the need of the lifelong learner. It is flexible because it is self-paced and according to the learning pathways. Pathways refers to a composition of many micro courses in order for you to achieve a certain ability, to achieve to a certain skill, uh, which will be recognized as a recognized credential from multiple providers. It is portable and mobile. Why? Because securely owned and shareable by learners through digital wallet. This is one of the identifying factors from a micro-credential to an ordinary workshop, seminars, or master classes. Why? Because there is a technology called digital badging or the digital wallet. In layman's term, it's just like a certificate. But these certificates are shareable and that it can be traced according to number. And of course, in a micro-credential, it has an accessible learning outcomes aligned with existing standards. Unlike with a simple workshop or seminars or a webinars, after attending, you just and then you comply with the evaluation, then you're done. You have the certificate. In the micro-credential, there is assessment. Assessment in the sense that if you wanted if that micro course or micro credential is creditable to a degree, you have to achieve a certain uh, standard of grade. But if that is a non-stackable, meaning non-credit for a degree program, then perhaps the score or the grade may not be necessary. But most of the time, or it's always that in a micro credential, there is always assessment before you are given with a digital badge. According to the Commission on Higher Education, this is the framework of the micro credential. Of course, on both sides, the school like Silliman University, where Silliman University can offer also stackable and non-stackable, which I will explain further. A micro credential also can be offered by industry or a company, meaning a micro credential in the Philippines right now, in our country, short courses can be offered not necessarily by a private institutions or a public higher education institution. And then, of course, the one that I mentioned to you, the framework is on the center, following on the PQF alignment. In the higher education institutions or HEI, we are only following, again, as I mentioned, we are only focusing or allowing schools to offer micro credentials on the PQF level 5, 6, 7, and 8. 5 is basically the bachelor's level because 4 is actually under TESDA. What I am trying to say to connect with you that micro-credential is also implemented in TESDA, no, even in DepEd. If you attended our previous workshop or seminar, even DepEd is also trying to establish micro-credentials in the basic education. But our emphasis here, because our project is more into the higher education, I'll focus more into the higher education. So it is lifelong learning. There is a credit pathway. There should be a certain quality assurance, and then certified and recognized. It can be recognized either by an institution, by an industry, and it should be outcomes. Okay. What are the different forms of, I was mentioning about stackable and non-stackable of micro-credentials. It actually refers to form. There are two major forms of micro-credentials or micro-course. Number one is stackable. It is easy to understand, just like taking a short course, a very short, that's why it's called micro course. And that micro course can be credited to a program. So it's called stackable for credit. Non-credit means these are non-stackable or a standalone certificate that is not credited to a formal degree program. No, let's say for example, you're just a certain industry wanted a certificate of this, and that you have to get a micro course uh, from micro credentialing provider. So again, for the 4 credit, the first form of micro credential is actually from 1 to 30 credit units, and that is equivalent to 17 to 519 hours. This is the minimum. In other words, higher education institutions can actually, or even the private institutions or industry, can put more value as far as credit unit is concerned. And then it can be stuck to a certificate, minor, or a degree. Like say, for example, a certificate in AI, or uh, your entire major subject or major course is credited by a certain micro course, or a full or a part of a full degree. Because later on, you will come to realize that only a certain subject, number of subjects can be credited from a micro course, because you cannot actually that is different from ETIAP, which is gaining gaining popularity now. The expanded tertiary, that's the one being popularized by a periodical that our president now, Marcos, signed a law that can award degree for those with experience coming from the industry. That is also different, but most likely they are coming from the same principle, granting formal credit to those lifelong learners who gained new knowledge and competencies from this kind of innovation. If an MC is a component of an academic program, learners must comply with the full requirement of the course. This is the one I'd mentioned to you. So, say for example, at Tiliman right now, our GE10 elective, the whole person education, a portion of that is delivered via a micro course. All of those, the 6-hour micro course in our GE10 is fully credited as part of the class of our GE10. And that they require, there is assessment, they have to submit a final requirement, and that the final requirement need to be submitted to the class. And then the other side, of course, for credit, these are curriculum embedded micro courses which aim at enrolled students, similar to the one I mentioned a while ago. The non-credit, these are micro courses that is open to all learners for continuing education. You wanted to learn more, professional development, if you wanted to upskill. So instead of just attending a seminar, the seminar is the seminar cannot be credited to other pathways. So instead of doing that, why won't you find a seminar that is credited to a certain learning path? Again, cannot be credited to a course degree, but it can be credited to a learning pathway. Learners can earn a non-credit certificate. In other words, there are three reasons why, there are three purposes why a provider of micro-credentials or a learner wanted to enroll or reason to offer micro credentials. This is number one is a curriculum embedded, meaning it's part of the curriculum. So instead of going through the traditional waiting time that this subject will be offered on the third year, it can be offered anytime because again it must be flexible. And then industry certified because the micro course should be uh, accredited or should be acknowledged by the industry or by academic institutions. And of course, there is a need coming from, let's say, the industry or coming from the learner itself. That is why it's called skill. Okay, so just to give you a visualization of how micro-credentials, I've been using this for several times, but for the purposes of this afternoon, so that you can visualize what is micro-credential means. So say, for example, School A, this is Silliman. Silliman has a certificate, not necessarily a degree program, a non-degree or a diploma or a degree, like a certificate in professional ed. That certificate, for sure, there is a major, there is also a minor course, there is elective, and there might be a few or more course specialization. Most of the time, if that is undergrad, we have about 146 units, or that's equivalent to 18 units per semester. So you have that. And you know also that in each course, there is a certain competency. In each course, there is a certain competency that we wish to deliver, which are all articulated through a learning outcome. So there, it could be, and then in an average, in a course, there is an average of 3 learning outcomes. The learning outcomes that I mentioned is the articulation of our competency that we wish to develop for our learners. So course 2 can have 1 to 4, course 3, 2 to 4, and so on and so forth. I think we are very familiar into this. From this, where is micro-credential then? The micro-credential from the learning outcomes, you're trying to look at again what specific skill you wanted to deliver. So a micro-credential can be a micro course that only achieve a certain learning outcome. Like if you will see on the top, from course 1, there are 3 learning courses, but I can just choose one learning outcome, then I can develop a micro course to that. Or it could be 3 learning outcomes from a course, then I can develop one micro course to that also. For my MC7, if you will try to analyze it, my MC7, I can offer it into, let's say, for example, 4 learning outcomes, but that can be credited by the others. No, that's like even a micro course is basically a division also of a one big learning outcome. That could be possible because remember, a micro course, you can offer 17 hours maximum credit up to 500 plus. Okay, so that is how visualization works when it comes to the division of micro course, how big, how long, how short, and etc. So from here, where is crediting once a school or a provider is offering a micro course, it has to be acknowledged and credited. No? So, for example, School 1, a micro course can be offered by School 1, or micro course 2 can be offered by School A, or it can be a team teach by uh, School A offered also 3, and so on and so forth. What I am trying to say in this box is, in a micro course, if you wanted to expand credits and more bearing to the crediting system, it should be placed in a network. There should be 2 or more schools collaborating, partnering, so that one course offered by one provider is also acknowledged by the other provider. So there should be a network, but that network should follow certain instructional quality standards as required by the Commission Higher Education in terms of the course, meaning it has a certain that if you are offering a 4 credit, the courses that you're going to credit is make sure that it is accredited also, level 1, level 2, level 3, and your learning outcomes followed on a format of the outcomes-based education, and For the MC, you have to follow the standard as set by the Commission on Higher Education. With all of this process, there has to be an online platform because the online platform. Remember, I mentioned a while ago that there is digital wallet or digital badging. So digital instructional production, organization, engagement. In other words, this is really online. We need a learning management system plus a digital badging system. A badge that when you finish or completed a certain micro course, it can be traced even if because you can accumulate and then from out of the many micro courses, then you can have a learning pathway or one big certificate. Okay? Then you can issue certificate and badges. And then that certificate and badges can be given to the learner. Okay? So that is what we call granting process. The granting process will add up more bearing of the micro course that you are taking because most of the question is if that is non-credit, why do we have to offer it under micro credential protocol? Because again, because later on it can be a it can be a stackable component in the future, or it could be a part of a learning pathway. A learning pathway basically is like a course. So let's say, for example, if you will say, later, I will tell that later. So a micro-credential refers to small, focus unit of learning that validates specific knowledge, skills, or competencies. So there are five components of this. Number one is it must be demand driven, as I mentioned a while ago. Second, there is a offeror, meaning there is an institution that offer a micro course, just like for example, Silliman. For number one, say for example, AI topic. Number two, offeror, for example, Silliman. Number three is a micro learning content. Open bit-sized learning experiences to assess learners' knowledge and skills. So this is where pedagogy comes in, instructional strategies come in. So there should be content. Content in the sense that it follows certain protocol on the concept and the principle of micro learning. And the fourth component is the digital badge. The digital badge in the conventional professional development, this refers to the certificate, but it's not very similar to certificate, but what is new to this is it can be traced even if you don't download it. As long as you have the number, certificate number, then it can be traced as long as all organizations that honor budgets can actually trace and then it can accumulate and then you can present that let's say for example for our graduating students here or our students when you graduate, you can present different learning paths. And then the last component, which is very important, is the credential recognition. These are the industry, the school, or any organization that recognize or give credit to the badge or to the certificate that you have completed. So if that is stackable, of course, to the degree, like for Silliman University. For non-stackable, it means that it honors to your perhaps to your HR as part of the professional development in terms or in case of the teacher. For the student, that is honored by the industry. But most of the time, if that is coming from the higher education institutions, it is always honored naman, no? As long as there is really demand. There is really demand. Okay, so what are the different delivery method of micro-credential? Because again, this is very flexible. It can be offered fully online, either fully asynchronous or fully synchronous. And then flexible. Flexible is a combination of fully online, and half of it or a portion of it is in person or on site, and then blended or in conventional modality. So CHED recognized or Dell GIs can offer micro credentials. This is actually a provision given as a benefit for schools offered a full online degree program. So like for Silliman, because we offer a full online degree program, we can offer, no, we can offer micro credential even without approval from the Commission Higher Education. Of course, we issue certificate upon completion of the micro credential, and there should be a platform, there should be a learning management system, and there is a digital credentialing system so that learners can check it and then it will be yours forever, no? So there should be digital badge, shareable, and then applicable, because a company also can look at it, can trace. They will just Google or search your certificate number and they can find it. Okay, so just to give you a general computation of micro credentials, especially our colleague in the academy here, so that you will have an idea. You will have an idea of the equivalent number of hours, no, of credit. So one unit is 8 to 10 hours, or you can do that one unit to 17 hours or 18 hours. Again, these are just minimum, just to give you an idea, more or less similar to a 3 unit, because a 3 unit in a degree program is equivalent to 54 hours. This one is 51. But of course, for a school, no one can prevent a school or a provider to have an equal treatment with the bachelor's degree program. Or 30, that means that for a 30 unit available credit, that is only equivalent to 500 hours. Because in offering a micro course, unit is not being emphasized. Unit is only used for crediting. Hours is being emphasized in any micro courses offered through micro credential. So that's the one that mentioned to you, 3 hours. Therefore, if 3 units, 51 hours, and 30 units, 510 hours of instruction. Okay, so just to give you overview also, if you are a bachelor, a master's, or a doctoral degree program, there are only certain percentage that is allowed for you to have credit. So for example, because there are the intention really right now, or say for example, you get a certificate from Coursera, and that Coursera is approximately, for example, you have approximately 205. And if your school honored Coursera, then you can be credited to that. No? So something like that. That's the whole idea. So schools right now are trying to develop institutional policies, because there are already mandates from the Commission Higher Education to make sure that institutions are also adopting this kind of innovation in teaching and learning. So master's degree, that's basically 9 units, very similar to the existing. Like for Silliman right now, we can only credit let's say in the master's program, if you are a transferee from other schools, you can only credit 9 units. No? And then doctoral program is 7 units. And for the bachelor's degree, a total of 30 units. Okay, so this is a summary for bachelor's degree, for the master's degree, and for the doctoral degree. If you notice, 30 and 30, unlike before, that the CMO for the graduate school, they have equal number of courses. But right now, there are more number of courses in 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 the doctoral programs than in the master's program. That is why you will see there 9 and 7. Okay. Now I'm on the by the way, if you have questions, kindly put in the chat box. And then my colleague will be collating them, and we will have an open forum later. So that is the first part of my discussion that talks about the basics of micro credential. I have other material into that, a more thorough discussion. As I mentioned, this is the X number of times that we've been discussing about micro credentials. We launched the project 2 years ago, and hope to finish this within the year. So let me proceed to the second half of my discussion that talks about the Silliman Open online courses. Remember that there are five components of micro-credential: demand-driven learning, the offeror, like the Silliman, the micro-learning content, the digital badges, and the credential recognition. So there should be a provider. This is where Silliman University will come in because we are an advocate of innovative teaching and learning, and that we are also covered with the CMO that I mentioned to you. And we are starting into this. It is being pronounced by our school president that we are embracing innovations like micro-credentialing in the curriculum. Now, I think the question is how to start and what is the first step to do in 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 the integration of micro credentials. So there are different mechanisms. I got these mechanisms in 2023 in UPOU. I attended also a workshop on micro credentialing. The first mechanism that we could do is integrate it into our course. Integrate it into our course. Like if you have empowerment technology for senior high school, or if you have a subject, or if you have a course in your bachelor, you can substitute it for a required topic or assessment. Let's say, for example, lesson two. Your lesson two requires 8 hours. So instead you discussing it, why not ask your students to go to Coursera and put it there? I mean, they have to take the assessment of the Coursera, and then your students, you will ask your students. I am addressing to the teacher. You will ask your students to submit the certificate, just like what we are actually doing in our whole person education and some of our subjects in the MAED program and even in the undergrad, particularly for the undergrad subject that I am. And then it could be an option for a learning path. So for example, especially for advanced students, I usually do this for advanced students. And then when you look at the curriculum, or I mean your outline, it feels that it's so easy for the students that there are no new learning. Why not give another learning path for the students? Instead, your advanced student will wait for you. Why not give them a micro course to enroll to other recognizable and uh, um, recognizable and have certain quality of micro course provider like TEDx, Coursera. There's many. And then as a requirement of the course. So for example, your final project, instead of you checking your final project, and if you find a micro course offered by reliable providers, then you can allow your students to do that. In that case, this number one is really more of instructional strategy. It's really more of teaching strategy. No? The second is integrated into the degree program. It could be an elective course. So, for example, you have an elective course, and then remember an elective course or a 3 unit in the bachelor that's equivalent to 54 hours. You can actually offer it as a micro course, and then for those students who took that, can be credited to the elective course. Or it could be a substitute of a required course, or it could be a minor, or it could be a part of the field specialization. And the other one, which is very easy, which is a standalone certification, where transcript of record, certificate of completion from the stock, that should be stock micro credentials. If you will come to think of it, micro credential is just an improvement of the previous certificate program that we have. It's just that in the micro credential, instead of the conventional 54 hours offered in one semester, a micro credential is very flexible and can be chopped up, bit-sized, small chunk of learning content. So that's our first step. Like at Silliman University, we have this project funded by the United Board to develop and implement micro credentialing in higher education institutions. So through the Silliman Open online courses. Our intention with this workshop, especially for the teachers, if you could start integrating micro courses via the Silliman Open online courses in your course syllabi. So what are SOOP? So SOOP, or the Silliman Open Online Courses, are Silliman University's version of MOOC. If you are familiar with MOOC, like Coursera, TEDx, and some other things, those are similar. No? So in other words, we develop our own. Silliman University develop our own platform, develop our own content, our own repository for to introduce and to contribute to the body of knowledge also when it comes to certain content and expertise. So what sets Ansuk apart from the others? Question like, why do we have to enroll there? Why not in Coursera and etc. Our courses are curated content from external research bodies like the Commission Higher Education, from the Private Educational Assistance Commission, United Board, and many of these short courses are contextualized and localized for the Philippine setting with a strong foundation in Christian values and then making them distinct from other MOOC. Ako, I've been enrolling Coursera for quite some times already, but I think I only have 30% success factor, meaning from enrollment up to getting the budget. Why? Because sometimes it's not contextualized in the Filipino learners, or not even it's difficult to incorporate in our class from a Filipino type of learner. So what are the topics and offerings that we offer? We only have, for now, we have a limited learning pathway. We offer only six learning pathways. So this is the one I mentioned to you, learning pathway. The first one is fighting information disorder on social media. That's the first learning pathway, equivalent to 54 hours. There are six skill budgets to this. MC1, MC2, MC3, MC4, MC5, MC6. This is one of the uh, micro course that we are proud of because we submitted this to the World University Ranking for Innovation under social responsibility. And we got the 72nd place all over the world with under social responsibility. So that means question like, sir, what if I don't have plan to finish all of those micro courses? I just take one or two of those micro courses for one learning pathway? Yes, no, there's no harm to that. It's just that if you wanted to, for example, I know our partner institutions that this becomes an elective class nila. So instead of their students, their teachers teaching in their class, the teacher asked them to enroll in SOOP and get the certificate from us because that is equivalent of their elective course, meaning they have to comply all the requirements from MC1 to MC6. Another learning pathway is into the upscaling online teaching. Uh, there are there are five there are five micro courses for this pathway. This is equivalent to 42 hours. This learning pathway is really for teachers who wish to learn more about online teaching. By the way, how we develop SOOP, we designed this using a micro-learning approach ranging from 6 to 18 hours of content. So they are all gamified to enhance engagement and are delivered in purely asynchronous format. No synchronous, no live session, allowing learners to complete the courses at their own pace, at least the current offering that we offer. We also have the third learning pathway, ensuring student engagement in a technology-enhanced, limited face-to-face instruction. So again, technology-oriented, face-to-face instruction. What is the format of SOOP? Most of our content, all of our content comes in a variety of learning resources, multiple formats. We have videos that you can look at, PowerPoint. There are even audio in cases like you have preferred learning format. And then there are knowledge check, 10 to 20 objective type of question, and there are performance tasks that are manually assessed by the instructors. I wanted to highlight manually assessed because there are really cases that students are just submitting, a file without content, and they thought that it is automated, that once it is uploaded, it's automatic. The restriction is unlocked, but it's not. For performance tasks, our colleague in the office really assess and check all of those submissions for the performance. We also have another learning pathway, sustaining innovative teaching with technology during post-pandemic learning. These are not necessarily for IT, by the way. This is for all. We just emphasize on the technology because this in our survey among teachers, this is the number one skill that needed, in order to sustain the post-pandemic teaching and learning. On your screen, that is actually an example of a micro course. No, it is in a learning management. We also have another learning pathway called productivity, communication, and security skills. If you wish to know about office and workplace productivity, mga video conference management, digital tips and tricks for everyone, digital safety, digital parenting. That's all in one under or one path under one pathway called productivity, communication, and security skills. That's a total of 36 hours. Again, as I mentioned, if you don't want to get the entire learning pathway, the entire certificate, non-credit certificate, you can just get two or three or one of those skill badges. Skill badges refers to one micro. So learners can either get or earn certificate of completion with a skill badge. We have a certain standard that you have to achieve 80% in all the knowledge check, and you should be able to participate in the asynchronous forum and submitted all exercises, activities, and performance tasks. With skill badge, meaning you have to get 80% for you to be able to qualify if you wish to aim to get a certificate in productivity, communication, and security skills. If you are uh if if you cannot achieve the 80% and because you just want to learn by your own and for personal development, that's fine. But if you cannot reach 80%, we cannot give you a badge, a learning pathway for this kind of pathway, which is true to all paths. So in short, we have, as of the moment, we have five for now, no? And on your screen, those are examples of badges and the certificate. What is unique to this is not just simply a certificate, because inside that certificate there are codes, and inside that certificate also there are information about the badge, what the skill you earn, what were the learning outcomes, what were the activities, what are the performance tasks, and so on. In other words, there are transcripts of performances in the badge that awarded to you. So, and more micro courses in the future. As of the moment, we are developing tools for research. We are also developing AI, and then we are also developing micro courses for ethical use of AI. So, who can enroll in SUP? For now, anyone, and in the future. For now and in the future, anyone, student, teacher, staff, are highly encouraged to enroll. We also welcome alumni, partners, parents, and lifelong, or in other words, anyone, not necessarily student of Siliman, connected to Siliman, but this is open. This is open to all. You just have to look at the courses, the requirement of the courses, because some of the learning outcomes, remember, it's either that is for bachelor's degree or you should be a master's degree and so on. Is this free for now because this is under project? And this is free because all of these are non-credit or non-stackable to a degree program. So for now, these are all free because the majority, all of the courses that we offered are funded by either CHED, the PAYAC, or the Commission Higher Education. For example, you found or you are eyeing three or more or five micro courses you wish to enroll. There is no limit. That is why it's flexible to enroll in the MCs, and you can enroll as many as you can, as long as it is easy and manageable to your time. Where can, if I am addressing this to teachers, you might be interested to incorporate SOOPs in your classes or courses. Currently, our focus for now is technology-oriented topics, emphasizing office productivity, technology for teaching and learning, responsible and ethical use, and combating information disorder. So additional topics will be launched soon. So for example, a school can integrate these courses into their technology for teaching and learning courses in the education program, ethics courses in any program, and empowerment technologies in senior high school and among others. At least for now, because again, the courses that we are still developing a few, no, and hope to expand into other disciplines. Say, for example, Attorney Justice here, we can offer a short course, an innovative one, and perhaps topics that are not embedded in the curriculum. Let's say, for example, cryptocurrency, some legal impediments of cryptocurrencies for sure is not yet most probably articulated in the curriculum, but we can offer as a micro course and can be credited in one of the courses in the JD degree program at Diliman. So those are just examples that I'd mentioned. In the pipeline also, I've been talking with the Dean of the College of Education because we are we are planning to offer micro credentials, especially for inclusive education. For the teachers, as continuation of the first invitation, prior to this slide, how did you modify the syllabus to incorporate micro credentials as a teaching strategy? In the next slide, my colleague in the office, teacher Alfie, she is actually teaching BS Ed, particularly technology teaching and learning, will demonstrate to you how the syllabus has been modified to incorporate micro-credentialing as a teaching strategy. What I'm trying to say is that before you can apply micro-credentialing credit of your courses in your class, you need to really specify that into your syllabus so the students will be guided. No, just like in my class, I put it there. Students should be able to enroll in a micro course and submit their certificate, and this is equivalent to 1 week, equivalent to 3 hours, and that we will not need in replacement to this kind of credential. No? So I'll be playing the demonstration of teacher Alfie when she modified her syllabus.
Good day. So for this school year, we have incorporated micro-credentialing in our Technology for Teaching and Learning course. Looking at our syllabus, 4 lessons are delivered through micro-credentialing. For Unit 2, the second and third lessons are to be accomplished through the enrollments of 2 SOOCs. By the way, the ones that are highlighted in green are those lessons that we offer or we give through or we deliver through micro-credentialing. Okay, so since one SOOC or one short course is allotted 6 hours, then the students are given self-directed learning time for 2 weeks wherein they accomplish the 2 SOOCs asynchronously. All they have to do is submit the certificate. It's like submitting the certificate in our own virtual classroom. By the way, for Unit 2, the 2 lessons were successfully delivered via micro-credentialing last September, and our last attempt of micro-credentialing will take place in the last 2 weeks of November for the topic social media safety, ethics and trust, and digital citizenship. Let me just scroll down so that you will have an idea.
So these topics are actually under the last unit of the course, and they will be enrolled in a SUK course titled Becoming a Responsible Social Media User, where they will be able to comply with lessons, the first two lessons of Unit 5. And they will be expected to again submit their certificates in our virtual classroom after 2 weeks. And the certificates are for complying the topics in TTL through the short courses they have enrolled in. So that is how micro-credentialing works when incorporating in a course. Thank you.
Okay. If you wanted to know more on syllabus modification, just let us know. We're happy to help you and assist you because for sure your institution you have your own curriculum guide, you have your own format of your syllabus, but we for sure there are ways to innovate your syllabus to incorporate micro-credential crediting as either a topic, a requirement of a class, a requirement of a lesson, or a requirement of the entire course. When can you start? If you'd like, or if you're interested on the list of learning pathways that we offer, you can begin anytime. You just have to look at the specified availability of the micro course because it will be closed. So, for example, what we have right now, all the micro courses were open. There were micro courses that opened since August last year. And we have a term. Our term is it's basically 1 school year. So for example, if you're interested to enroll a course which was opened last August, is still open, but it will be closed until July 30. So it's a 1 school year, at least for now, because we are in the pilot in terms of periodic cycle of the offering of the micro course. At the end of the day, micro course, there is also term. There is also duration. In other words, there is also lifespan of a micro course. Uh, According to the Commission on Higher Education, a lifespan should be declared by a micro course creator vis-a-vis to the content being offered. A, will the certificate from SUCS be credited toward an actual certificate or degree program? At present, this should be non-credit micro courses, non-credit to any degree offered to address lifelong learning needs for personal, professional, technical, and academic development. But there are courses already, there are teachers already that are using this as part of their requirement, not necessarily to credit a certain unit in the university, but to credit as a teaching strategy. Okay. For other schools who are here today, there are questions also. We receive emails also if we can establish an MOU or MOA as an institution. Yes. We are currently finalizing a comprehensive agreement for partnership. Particularly, we are eyeing for three partners. No, one is an offeror, meaning we can exchange offerings. We can exchange offerings and then we can exchange offerings like Teleman and then your school and then our students can we honor no we can recognize offering to each institution. Another one is the sending institution. For example, your school doesn't have the capacity to offer to develop the content, then why won't you send your students? Why won't send your faculty, your colleagues, your administrators, and then recognize? For example, our micro courses that you can embed it in your Bachelor of Science in education. Then we can be partnering to that, and you can recognize. And then, of course, from the technical perspective, we are also looking mga course developers, particularly learning management, customization, digital badging, and etc. It's really more of instructional design. That's it. I tried to make this very short and quick, making sure that we can embrace this kind of disruptions in teaching and learning. Because as I mentioned with in the early slides, micro-credentialing is one of the strategy to future-proof our learner. Just remember M, or just remember micro M, it is modular, emphasize flexible and stackable learning units. That micro learning or micro credential is innovative. It integrates emerging technologies and pedagogies. And then competency based, focus on skill mastery rather than a seat time. And then recognizable ensures that both the industry, if the courses is not necessarily needed in the industry, but accepted in the academic community. And then outcomes driven. So measures learning through clear and accessible goals. Accessible because again, part of the components of micro credential is there should be. With that, we need to learn more. Um, if you want to learn more about micro credential, we have our the newest learning pathway. It's a micro course on micro credential. If you want to know more about micro credentials, uh, we offer three micro courses of one learning pathway. We call it Foundation and Strategies of Micro Credentialing. It has three micro courses. Introduction to Micro Credential. Here you will learn more, no, the focus on the benefits, the challenges, and others. And then our micro credential two, micro course two, under this pathway, implementing micro credentials and the Silliman open online courses in education. My workshop today is actually a shortened of the micro credential two that we offer. And then micro courses three or offering three, the basics of micro learning. This is where you will learn the content part, the instructional designing, because you cannot just simply offer a micro credential if there is if you don't know the pedagogic foundations of micro courses. So here we will review some philosophy, some conceptual framework on micro learning. For my MAED students, they are very familiar into this because this is one of our this time. So with that, I end my sharing this afternoon. If you'd like to know more about micro credentialing and to partner with us, we post our announcement. You can follow and like on our Facebook page on the Dr. Mariano Lau Innovation, Creation, and Invention Laboratory. We post micro credentialing. All our projects, research, and updates on micro credentials are posted in this. With that, I end of saying that let's let's embrace together and be innovative in our delivery. Mayong hapon sa tanan. Yes. Someone asked about is this similar to UPOU? Yes. UPOU they call it model. Huh? They call it model. Massive open distance e-learning. And then for Silliman, we call it SUP. We have the same model. I mean, our framework is also based on the framework of model or UPOU because, of course, they are more established when it comes to delivering online distance learning. Will this be the same? Yes. UP MOOC, yes. UP MOOC, they have that also. Yes, this is similar. But we have different topics being offered. That's the badge. It is printable. The badge will not expire, but crediting it to a pathway will expire, meaning you own your badge until the rest of your life, but that badge, the the credit, the recognition to that badge has a term. Let's say, for example, 3 years, no, for you to be able to be granted credit. So, for example, in the future, Siliman will offer a micro course that can be credited to for a research class, for example. For example, you took the micro course, you got the learning pathway, total 54 hours. You took it in, let's say, uh, August 2025. And if our policy says that credit recognition of this micro course is only 3 years, so you will own your badge, it will not expire, but crediting it to our course will only have a period within 3 years. I hope I responded you. Attorney Josh there. So it depends on the policy, Attorney Josh. It depends on the the outline being developed or even the guideline to a specific micro course. What I know, currently for the SOOC that we are offering right now, we are still covered. Being an online delivering institutions, we are still covered within 4 years. So all courses that we offer for now can be or allowed within the next 4 years. But yes, it is printable. You can print that, and then at the same time, the badge will expire in terms of the credit, but you will own it, and there is no expiration as to the information about the Cristilita, ma'am. Yes, very similar to UP MOOC. They have that also, and even the micro credentials that we are developing is also anchored on the same framework of UPOU. At the end of the day, we are actually in the same network. One Augustine. Noxy. Yes, from Noxy, very similar to open free courses. You have to be reminded that remember there are two forms of micro courses under micro credentialing: the stackable and the non-stackable. For now, as I mentioned, because this is a new thing in the country, sometimes it can be mixed up with the idea of a free online courses. MOOCs is totally free, but micro credentials in the future is not free because there are credit. We have to sustain also. We have to sustain also the if that we have to sustain also the business of the business in the academic sector. Um, it's not free. Just like for example, if you try to look at you browse also the offering, the micro courses offering of UPOU, there are certain level that is free, but if you wanted this to be credited to a certain degree, then that's the time that you have to pay. So we will be developing the same model. But again, for now, because many of our courses that we offer right now are funded by external entities, and these are non-credit, and that part of our agreement with the funding agency is we can release a short course or a master class or a non-degree certificate or bachelor, again, level 5 up to level 8. But the intention really is to offer micro courses that can be credited to existing programs in the university. My office has been talking to, in the case of maybe relevant to Sir Halandoni here, relevant to the industry. We've been talking with the ICT Dumaguete to to offer micro courses that can be possibly credited to certain master's degree program in the university if they wish to enroll and proceed. Any other questions? I think there's none, Sir Fred.
Okay, thank you, Professor Dave Marshall, for that very comprehensive idea about micro-credentialing and Silliman Open online courses. So at this time, I will reflect the evaluation link on your screen and I will just put it in the chat box. So this is the instruction for the evaluation to get your certificate of attendance.
At this juncture, we kindly invite you to evaluate today's session. Your valuable feedback will help us enhance our programs and services. Additionally, the evaluation will assist us in issuing your certificate of attendance, which will be sent within 2 weeks. Please ensure that you provide the correct email address. You can access the evaluation form by scanning the QR code or by clicking the link in the chat box. Thank you in advance for your time and input.
So the evaluation link is in the Zoom chat box. So I hope you're able to see now in your end. So at this time, let's have a photo
At this time,
opportunity.
we would like to invite everyone to join us for a photo opportunity to capture this special moment. If your connectivity allows, kindly switch on your video. Please hold your smile as we take screenshots based on the number of frames displayed on the screen. Get ready, everyone.
Okay, may I request everyone to kindly turn on your camera if your connectivity allows. So in this part, we have 2 frames. Okay, so let's begin with the first frame.
Okay, please
and
smile. 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, for the other frame, Sir Fredley. Okay, for the second frame, 3, 2, 1, smile. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Missy. So at this end, I will just give you the announcement for the ICIO event. So at this point, I would like to share to you the ICIO contact information. So we have our Facebook page. So I will just copy the Facebook page as well as the GSC portal for the upcoming ICIO events. So kindly take a look at in the Zoom chat box. So I have placed there the Facebook page for the ICIO and then the GSC portal. So here, this is our contact details. And then I will just show to you the pages. I hope you are able to see now the Facebook page of the ICIO. So in here, this will be the display of the offerings for free computer education every Saturday. So we'll post this one as well as your captured moments during this session. And then you can visit facebook.com SU ICI Lab. And then for the offerings regarding the SOOCs, so you can visit our Facebook page as Silliman OUL. I will just copy this one for the upcoming SOOC courses. So I hope that is reflected in the Zoom chat box. So here we have our current offerings for the SOOC. So in this case, so this will be this is the format of the course offering. So we have the course title, and then you have the link to register, and then how to create an account in Sook. So there is a steps there. So kindly take a look at the video tutorial. So for the upcoming events for next week, so March 15, 2025, so we will be sharing the digital ethics, one of the international course for AI. So we will share to you what is all about digital ethics in international perspective. So we have 4 sharers. So we have Assistant Professor Alfie Arcelo, and then Sir Russell Ray Bashao, Jade Omonti-Mayor, and yours truly. So thank you very much for attending this session. And now let's have the closing remarks.
As we wrap up today's vibrant session, we want to extend a heartfelt thank you to all of you for joining us, courtesy of the dynamic Dr. Mariano C. Lau Innovation, Creation and Invention Laboratory. We hope you found today's insights and strategies incredibly valuable and that you're inspired to apply them enthusiastically in your professional and personal endeavors.
Welcome to the Dr. Mariano C. Lau Lab. Here we thrive on continuous learning and innovation. Your participation today truly brings that energy to life.
A huge shout out to our amazing speaker for the lively and insightful presentation. Your expertise has been incredibly valued.
Hey everyone! Our Saturday seminars are the highlight of the week, and we're thrilled to have you join us. Stay tuned for exciting updates on upcoming topics and speakers.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Have an amazing day ahead, and keep innovating and learning.